A very important reason we want to look at the price elasticity of demand is because it's very useful for a business to come up with a price, okay? Or sometimes we just simply refer to pricing strategy. Okay? For example, if you are a frozen pizza producer, okay? And you produced your pizza and price it at $4 a piece, okay? But you want to make more money. Okay? Remember in the previous chapters we already said that we assume the firms or businesses are profit maximizer, right? So you want to make more money. Should you increase the price? Okay? If you price it higher, so you can make more money per pizza, right? But you also face a smaller group of consumers who will be able to afford it, right? So you potentially could lose some consumers. You could lower your price. That way you make less money by selling each pizza, but you're gonna sell more pizza, right? So which way you should do if you wanna increase your revenue or even the profit? Okay. So here let's take a look at that and see how we can make the price elasticity of demand useful, okay, for this very important question. To be able to approach this issue, we have to introduce another thing here on the graph, which is the total revenue. Okay, so here we already get the demand curve. You can take this as the demand for pizza, right? So we already put the price on vertical and quantity on the horizontal, and we pick this point because the price is $4 a piece. Okay, and suppose at $4 we can get 100 pizzas sold. Okay, so the total revenue would be this pink area. Okay, so mathematically it's going to be $4 here multiplied by 100 pizzas, so the total revenue would be 400. Okay, again graphically that means this rectangle, okay, from the the origin to $4 here, and this point on the demand curve, and here this point on the horizontal axis. Okay, now once we understand this, we can talk about the pricing strategy. Okay, here let's take a look at the elastic demand, and as said in the previous video, when the demand is elastic, that means people are sensitive or responsive to the change in price, right? So we will have a relatively flat demand curve. That's what we're showing you here. Okay. Now let's explore the consequences of raising the price of pizza from $4 to $5 a piece. Okay. Now previously we already find that at $4 the total revenue would be $400, right? When we raise the price to $500, what we find is, again, each piece we can make $1 more, right? However, we're gonna lose 30 units of quantity demanded. Okay? You could say, 30 people just walk away. They're not gonna buy our pizzas anymore, right? So eventually you find that the total revenue would be $5 multiplied by 70 pizzas. So we end up with 350 as total revenue. Remember, previously, when the price is $4, our total revenue is $400, right? So in this case, when we see a elastic demand, when we increase the price, we find that total revenue actually decreases. Okay? Now here we use different color to shade these two rectangles. Okay? The green one shows the old revenue, and the purple one shows the new revenue. Okay? Under different different prices. Now, visually speaking, you can actually find the difference between these two. Okay? So when we increase the price, we find that we lose 30 pizzas as quantity demanded, right? So what we're losing is this area B, okay, in terms of the revenue. Okay? Suppose the price is still $4, we lose this much revenue. Okay? So we lose $4 multiplied by 100 minus 70. So that's 4 times 30. It gives us $120 we lose. Okay? Simply because some people just walk away. They're not going to buy our pizzas anymore, right? But as we said, for this 70, they're still buying. We can make $1 more from them. So the extra revenue we make with the higher price would be $1. So that's 5 minus 4, $1 multiplied by 70. So it's $70. Okay. So by increase our price, what we're saying is there are two effects. The first effect is we are going to face a smaller group of consumers. By that, we're going to lose, as we just calculated, $120. Okay? But each pizza, we're going to make more money. So by that, we're going to make extra $70. Okay? So here we lose 120 and we gain $70. So altogether we're gonna lose $50. Okay? So that's how the total revenue changes as a response to the change in price. As you can see here, it's closely related to the shape of demand curve or the price elasticity of demand. Okay? I'm gonna leave the second case, which is inelastic demand, for you guys to do as assignment. Okay, you don't have to turn it in, but I think it's going to be a good practice for you, okay, to have a better understanding of this. So if we're doing an inelastic demand, you would find you have to draw a steeper curve, right? And then you still get these two boxes or two rectangles and trying to compare their how large they are. Okay? Especially these two areas, A and B. Okay, look at the change in these two boxes. Okay? Their area. Okay. All right, now let me switch to this slide. So what we just said is, what will happen to the total revenue if the price rises. Okay? Again, that's a pretty common pricing strategy decision for our businesses. Okay? So the graphical things, we already saw that. And here is a general conclusion. Okay? TR stands for total revenue. Rises when demand is inelastic. Total revenue falls when demand is elastic. Remember, in both cases, we're talking about a higher price. Okay? So, of course, if your goal is to increase your total revenue, in this case, you should increase your price. Okay? In the book, you can find a very important application. I think the author talks about several applications of this price elasticity of demand. Okay? But among them, there's one very interesting, at least I find very interesting. It talks about, how farmers adopt new technologies and become more productive. Okay? And over time, we find that, back in 19th 19th century, the majority of the U.S. population living in the countryside, okay, producing on the field. But today, only 2%, I believe, of our population still live on the field and producing agricultural products. Okay? So there's a major sectorial change in the U.S. economy. And so we're talking about they're moving out of the agricultural sector and into the manufacturer or services sectors. Okay? For such an important macroeconomic change, we can still use the price elasticity of demand to explain, to make sense of that. Okay? Again, I will leave this for you guys to check out. Okay? And in this chapter, you can also find the discussion about the price elasticity of supply and even income elasticity of demand. But I would like to leave these for you guys as a reading assignment. Okay, and I also post the Khan Academy videos on Moodle, so you can check them out. Okay, for these other topics. All right, so here, chapter 5 is a relatively small or shorter chapter. Okay, so we start with the definition and calculation of the price elasticity of the demand, and then we talk about 5 classifications of demand curve. Okay, their slopes and how they related to the price elasticity of demand. Okay, and we earlier in this video we talked about the important application of the price elasticity of demand. It said that businesses rely upon these to come up with their pricing strategy. Okay. All right, so I think here there's a typo. I'm sorry. It should be price elasticity of supply. Okay, I leave that for you guys to check out after this. Okay. All right. So here we already wrap up chapter 5, and the next chapter would be chapter 2. Okay, we'll go back there and talk about a very important but straightforward model called the PPF. Okay? Production Possibility Frontier.